would you tell us more about the Maori songs that are used in your concerto?
The two songs is Pakari Kariana, which is a very well-known song, as you say, both among the Maori and the European New Zealanders. You'll hear it all the time at Maori meetings and other commemorations. And Hine e Hine, which comes in the last movement, is a love song. Hine is a young maiden, and it's a really beautiful one. The Pakari Kari, Matthew, which you know comes in the second movement, is a much more relaxed and positive in its original. I put it in a minor key, so I've taken a few liberties there. But the one in the third movement that opens the third movement, you're getting pretty much the basic melody there.
Now, the concerto, it also features fairly prominently the timpani and the flute. I'm wondering, is this coincidental? I heard that you may have played the timpani, in fact, at some point when you were younger, maybe. Or are these instruments related in some way to the Maori musical tradition?
No, it's very true. I did play the timpani in my school orchestra about 100 years ago. I think we did the Haydn Nelson Mass. But it was just a coincidence, really, Matthew. We both know, of course, that timpani have a prominent role to play in the Poulenc organ concerto. So if you need a kind of a sort of inspiration there, I guess you could say that the Poulenc might have been there at the back of my mind. It wasn't conscious. The flute thing refers to the conductor of the world premiere here in Auckland in 1996, Uwe Alexander Grod, who is a flautist. He's the professor of flute at Auckland University School of Music. He's also a conductor and a choir trainer. He's a man of many parts.
As a composer in Auckland, in New Zealand, can you talk about just generally your relationship with Maori music and maybe the folk music of New Zealand? And maybe how it's inspired other compositions or your work generally?
Maori music can be roughly divided into two classes, I guess. The pre-European Maori music, which was associated with ritual, fertility. Waiata is the Maori word for song. It was vocal, of course, and unaccompanied. They used microtones, and a lot of that is recorded now. There are books on Maori music, which you and your listeners can find online. There's quite a lot of material there. Then when the European settlers came, very late in the 18th century, but certainly early 19th century, they brought Western music along. And that seemed to fit like a glove. So a lot of melodies that we know are Maori because they have Maori words and they were composed by Maori composers, use ordinary keys and conventions that we're familiar with. So those two Maori melodies in the concerto, if you saw them in a score just by themselves, you wouldn't necessarily know they were Maori until you saw the words. And of course the texts are all Maori. Pacific Island nations generally have adopted Western music very enthusiastically without necessarily losing, and hopefully not losing, their own indigenous flavour. And I've done work with Tongan choirs as well. And these guys just love to sing. If you're in a church, it's not a question whether you're in the choir or not. If you're in the church, you're in the choir. And Maori have that same love of singing as well.
Another question I have for you is a more personal one, I guess, in a way. You were Woo-Sug Kang's organ teacher for about 10 years, starting from when he was maybe 14 years old. I'm sure you have all kinds of stories about him, but what kind of memories do you have about him as a student?
Because they lived a little bit out of town, and it was awkward to get from school to the church where I was teaching. He used to come and eat with us on his lesson day, and I remember him looking at a knife and a fork on the table and not being quite sure what to do with them because he was used to chopsticks. So I do take the credit for helping him to use Western utensils. But no, he was a student of mine for years. It was a very happy relationship. He went on to an organ scholarship. He went on to be the organ scholar of a very good choir. And then, of course, he went to the Eastern Seaboard in the US. And now he's working in the US and doing a very good job. So we're really, really thrilled about it.
Well, we're thrilled to have him working together with the Connecticut Virtuosi to perform this concerto. And I'd like to thank you for taking the time to talk with us. And we're very excited to hear this work.
Pleasure.